Guys, oh my god. Episode 4 of Hawkeye. Guys, also, if you're new to the channel, this will be episode 4 of Hawkeye review. This was an insane episode. I loved this episode so much, guys. It was absolutely insane. We have so much to talk about. But, guys, as you can see by the thumbnail, we got Yelena in this episode. And I could not, like, process what I saw. The fight choreography in this episode, shout out to everybody that was directing this episode and that did everything in this episode, and that was the fight coordinators and the stunt coordinators, because the fighting in this episode was top notch. Even last week's episode was really good too. I would say, like, out of these two episodes, out of last week and this week's, these were probably the episodes that are really like speeding things up, because a lot of people, from what I'm hearing, haven't been liking Hawkeye since the beginning. And I'm loving this. I'm loving this series. It's so high up there. I would say this might be my favorite, Disney Plus series on Disney Plus right now. I love it so much. And we just have a lot to talk about, because the way we see Yelena, how they bring her in, really made me flip out. Because we saw from promos that she was going to be, like, in it. Because there is the mask she was wearing in this episode, the night vision goggles, is the outfit she wears in the comics. And people were putting that together, and I was like, oh my god, because I think I speculated she'd either be in episode 4 or 5, and she was in this episode, and I love this episode. So in this episode, we get a lot of, from where we continued from last week's episode, of course, is Jack is holding the Ronin sword against Hawkeye's neck, and of course we do a recap of what happens, and we have a big conversation, between, Jack and Eleanor, and of course Kate and, Clint, on the fact of, she's like trying to cover for Clint, saying, we're just, we came here because, I think she said he had to use the bathroom or something, like some funny, thing, trying to cover for him, saying, we weren't into your computer, looking at your database, seeing who you were, who Jack might have been working with. She was, trying to, be low-key, jump around the questions that, of course, Eleanor was putting down, saying that, I just got, a break, somebody saying that, a notification someone broke into the system, in the Bishop security system, and she's like, Kate, would you know anything about that? And she's like, no, we were just, me and Hawkeye were just, up here, and, we're really good friends, and you're not going to get anything out of him, and she was just, trying to cover for him, and I loved that. And, of course, we see Jack. It's funny, because right before we get to that conversation, Jack has the Ronin sword to Clint's neck. And what really got me is that he pretended like he didn't know who Clint Barton was. And that was what was funny, until Eleanor came around the corner saying, what is an Avenger doing in my house? And he's like, oh, you're the Arrow guy, meaning that I call bullcrap. You clearly knew that was Clint Barton. Don't play. He's putting on a front. And this really concerns me, because as we see in this episode, it's like Eleanor, she's acting a certain way, which makes me think that, does she actually know that Jack is bad? Does she know? And I feel like we really, learn more about Jack. That's, how could she not know? And that's what's really interesting to me, because we see at the end of the conversation, she's telling, she walks Clint out to the elevator saying, can you please, leave my daughter out of this or whatever, I can't lose my daughter, you know what I mean? You can understand. I bet you have kids and you understand where I'm coming from. And he's like, I'll let her stay out of this. I can't drop what I'm working on, but I'll make sure your daughter's safe and I'll keep her out of it. But that's essentially not what ends up happening. Clint ends up going back to the apartment that they were in. I guess it's, Kate's grandmother's apartment. He's still there undercover. That's where he's staying. And he's, trying to bandage up. But he gets off the phone with Lila. And Lila's saying, is there anything else that might have got taken from the compound that could, that we don't know about? Because we didn't know about the Ronin sword. We didn't know about the costume that could probably lead it back to us, or maybe do something of harm. Do you know? He's like, that's something I can look into. I'll, could you do me a favor and, reach out to my contact or whatever. And he ends up reaching out to the contact, but that's not until a little bit later in the episode. But while he's going home, he's bandaging up, and he gets, all the frozen fruits out, and he bandages himself up with his kneecaps, his wrists. He puts one around his, forehead, because he got beaten the heck up from the previous episode when he fought, of course, Echo. Echo got some pretty damn good hits in when she kicked him in the head, with her, metal boots. So, she really, she kicked him good, so he's pretty much trying to heal up after that, battle that he had against her, that fight. But of course, he got the best of her, but so she got some good hits in there, and they really show that. But what I really liked in this episode is that they're having a touching moment, when it's like Eleanor and Jack. Jack's, doing a serenade to her, singing a Christmas song. Of course, Kate's smiling, and the fact of, I've never seen you that way. I've never seen you kind of like this happy. Because as we all know previously from, how, Kate's, mom, was with, Kate's dad, Derek, they were always arguing, it seemed like, from what I can tell. And it's like, she sees that. She saw it when they were younger. Like, I've never seen you this happy before. And Jack he's acting so dim. And it's like, I know you're not like this. I know, or maybe is like that, but I know he's not. And he's putting on a front. It's like and I think to myself, but is he putting on a front? I feel like he is. But it's like, sometimes I can't tell if, like, the things he says don't make sense. Because I love how Kate's, like, laughing at things he says. And so is, Eleanor saying you say things in a certain way, but it's actually not the way you're supposed to say them. And it's kind of funny to me. And it's wondering, is he doing that as, like, a front to say, like, oh, I'm acting? You know what I mean? Like, and she's acting with it, acting with Kate, saying, oh, yeah, you do say stuff like that. So I don't know if, like, they're both putting on a front, acting like they're both so funny, so good, but they're actually both bad, and they know they're both bad. Because as we end up finding out in this episode is that, Kazi, the one of the tracksuit, is working for the security company, at least from like the understanding I have of, Bishop Security. So that's what makes me wonder. And apparently Clint's inside person, from what I can hear also, that's undercover with the tracksuits, Jack is actually the leader of what I'm understanding of, I guess of the Bishop Security is what I'm understanding, that's making them do stuff. That's what I'm gathering from this. That's doing all like the numbers for the big guy, which is Kingpin. So he's pretty much, I guess they're working with the whole, Jack is working with the tracksuits, doing all the like the numbers and stuff for the big guy, which is Kingpin. But Kingpin is the one that owns the tracksuits, but is the one that puts, Echo to be in charge of the tracksuits, but he's the one that does the numbers for the big guy. So Bishop Security is doing all the security for the big guy is what I'm understanding. So hence that when we see, Clint walk out of the elevator to go back to the apartment building and ice up, she goes in the other room saying, and, says, oh, could you please call me back? It's urgent. And I'm thinking she is calling Kingpin and saying, we have an Avenger that's, a problem now, and he's trying to, he won't let it go. This is a problem. And she's trying to get her daughter out of it, but she doesn't care what happens to him. Hence why she said, can you please leave my daughter out of it? And pretty much called Kingpin saying, hey, we got a problem. We have an Avenger that's on our tail, this, and that. So my theory was kind of correct from so far as I'm understanding, is that she's the security for Kingpin. She's doing the security work. She's working with all these other crime people and stuff on the lower side of things, and she's putting all these fronts of doing like, oh, I do these legal auctions. I do all these, like what do you call like those galas where you're like, donation benefits and stuff like that. She's trying to act like she's doing good things, but on the other side, she's not. She's working with the tracksuits, aka working for Kingpin. It's all connected, it seems like, from what I'm understanding. But we get a moment, of course, she sees how happy they are, and they're like, oh, it's the best time of year to be with family. And Kate finally realizes, oh my God, it's like she's finally realizing that, Clint isn't home. He's not with his family, and I can understand where he's coming from, because previously she like teared up in last week's episode when she heard, Clint's kid on the phone, and she felt bad, saying, like he kept beating around the bush, saying, oh, I'll try to make it home. I'll try to do this, try to do that, but she knows it's her fault that he can't get home. And that's why she wants to make it up to him by doing like a Christmas sweater wearing, party while they're trying to figure out like what to do about the tracksuits, what to do about Jack being in charge of like, being in with the tracksuits, doing all the dealings for Kingpin and the big guy. But we don't know. He hasn't said his name, Clint. He's just recalling to the big guy, to the person. But I'm excited to hear when someone will finally say Kingpin or finally say Wilson Fisk. I'll flip out. But we've been calling him the big guy, which I'm excited when we actually hear the name and stuff. So I'm really excited because they're trying to figure everything out, trying to figure out the plan. And then Clint is at this point trying to figure out if there's anything else that might have gone out of the compound. And, of course, Lila has to reach out to the person to figure out if anything, I guess. And we end up getting to the point where she actually does get, I guess, a ping of where something else did get out of the compound, and they're pinging where it could be. But right now they're trying to figure out what to do plan-wise, so I love it. They do a ugly Christmas weather thing. They watch Christmas movies. They make slushies from all of the fruit that Clint had wrapped around his wrists and knees and around his head. And they're just I love how my favorite part is when Kate is writing on the dry erase board. And he's like, are you sure that's dry erase? And it's a Sharpie. I cried. I was like, that's great. I was like, we've all been there at school where we're like, we're writing on the dry erase board, and our teacher's like, I've had this situation. He's like, are you sure that's dry erase? And I was like, oh, it's not. And teachers have done it. It's the funniest thing. It never gets old. So seeing that go down, I was crying. And then she's like, oh, I fixed the problem. So she puts half the tree covering the dry erase board. And she's like, the problem's fixed. And he's like, sure it is. Yeah. And it was funny to me, just like the way they were doing their funny banter, and they were, drinking, slushies and watching movies, and they're talking about trick arrows, saying, how are we going to get more trick arrows? And he's like, oh, well, I got my, my quiver stolen or whatever. And it's, it's at a police station. And, I bet you we can talk to one of the LARPers, and they can, get the quiver that has all the trick arrows in it, so we can go talk to them. And she's like, so he asked her to go down and, go talk to one of the LARPers that works at the not LAPD, but with the police, to go get the quiver that has all the trick arrows. But before she leaves to go do that, and this is like the same night where they're doing they're really connecting and they're really bonding. He says, thank you for doing this for me. It's really nice of you that I can't, you say you're going to get me home for Christmas, but she's like, in the meantime, it's not like we can't have fun while we're trying to figure all this out. So they really have a deep conversation. Of saying, like, he says, she's like, what's the one shot that you didn't take or whatever? And it was really good because, he's like, just forget about it, because he gets to getting to the point where he's going to talk about Budapest on the one shot of the one assignment he was supposed to take was killing Natasha Romanoff. So that was really deep for him, and he's like, I don't even want to talk about it. But he ends up talking about it, saying, I was assigned to to kill Natasha or whatever, but I couldn't do it. And as we all know, that's talking about Natasha or any hints to Natasha or Black Widow or anything, it sets him spiraling. It sets him, he does have PTSD from what went down. You really could tell that he's taking it hard. And this is going to be his redemption arc, where I don't think he'll die off. I think he will end up, doing a passing of the torch with Kate, but I do think he will be helping her, build the next Avengers, the next Young Avengers, and he'll help her, because in the comics, they're the ones that build the Young Avengers team. So I think that's where we're going to be going. So, but hearing him try to talk about, Natasha, even though it's really hard for him, and he's like, that was the best decision I made, not taking that shot, because, I made a friend, and the rest is history. But it's really hard for him because we all know how it ends. And we end up getting to the point where when he's talking about it, he's getting to the point of, they're talking about, oh, your family blipped. And then that's when Kate puts together, you were the Ronin. And he's like, some people did it in different ways. I did it, how the best I knew how. I'm an assassin. I was a weapon. I did these things, you know what I mean? And I went down the path that I wanted to go down. So I went down that path. And she's like, you were a hero. And he's like, I was a weapon. And that's exactly what I did. Of course I did my research on people, and then I took them out. That's what I did. Some people did grieving in their own way, and I did it in mine. And you can really tell I was afraid, because I even called this out, I think, in one of my previous episode reviews of either, the three of the ones I did previously, I thought, Kate would look at him in a different way when she found out. And it seems for a second like she wants to defend him, saying, you were a hero, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't mean to do those things or whatever. But in a way, I feel like she still has that on her mind. And it seems like in a way she knows he's more than that. She knows that he wasn't that and isn't what he's saying that he is. Saying that he's a weapon, saying that he's just an assassin. She's saying you're more than that, you're a hero. And I feel like we'll finally, because Clint, as we all realize from what we're seeing and what the main point of view of the story is that Clint doesn't think of him as an Avenger. Clint doesn't think of him as a hero, as a role model. But little does he know, we're seeing it. We're seeing how he was a role model to Kate. He made Kate who she is today, wanting to help people, wanting to stick out for people, wanting to defend people, wanting to become an Avenger. He is a role model, and I feel like we're gonna see that. This is what the story is about. Him seeing that he is an Avenger, him seeing that he has helped people, him seeing that he can, let that guilt go of what happened to Natasha. Like, we're gonna see that through this story, and I feel like that's where we're gonna end this off, where he realizes that he is a hero, realizes that, Natasha didn't just sacrifice her life for me just to feel down about myself. She saw something in me. She saw a hero in me that I didn't see in myself. And that's the same way Kate sees a hero within me. I need to see that. I need to see that too. And I feel like we'll see that through the end of this episode. I don't think he'll die off or anything. So I'm excited when we get to that point of him realizing that, I will get back to my family. I will realize that I have helped people. I have made a world a safer place. And I hope he realizes that, because he doesn't take the benefits of being an Avenger. And as we've seen of him getting free food, he just doesn't like it. He doesn't like doing that. And of course, Kate's not wrong. It's branding. People don't know who he is. It's branding. So she's not wrong. And we're going to see that. Clint was always the person that, like Clint said, I had to be low key. I had to be in the shadows. Like, people, and we saw that in the I think it was Rogers the Musical, if I'm correct. He was in the corner. He was like, and someone dressed. He's like, someone was in Central. What was it? Central Park, dressed as, what I mean, like or whatever you call the main. What do you call, Bethany, the main of Manhattan, where the ball drops? Forget. Times Square. We saw somebody dressing up as Katniss Everdeen, not Hawkeye, and she's like, it's branding. I feel like we're going to get that, where she's going to make him a costume, which we end up getting the point where she ends up meeting with the LARPers and negotiating, like a negotiation, saying, you get me the arrows, and I'll get you guys material to make more new suits and stuff. And she's like, how about I'll get you the materials and stuff, but you guys have to make us two suits, because I'm trying to help him with his branding problem. And I feel like we're going to get it to where we see their final suits in that final shot of in one of the trailers where they're wearing their purple and black suits. I'm excited to see that go down. And I think that's going to be the episode 6 where we see them finally wear their suits, and their suits are going to be done with the LARPers making them. But I just love how we get to the point where she gets the trick arrows. One of the girls that work at the police station, but the trick arrows are in her bag that her wife embroidered for her, and she's like, "It's my bag. Do you have a bag?" And he's like, "No, I don't have a bag. I didn't think I needed to get a bag." And she's like, "Kate's like, oh, he'll give it back to you. I'll make sure." And they end up walking out the door. They pinpointed where the Rolex was, and mind you, I don't know. We're all thinking, who does the Rolex belong to? I have my theories about it could be Tony's watch that, whether it be the Gauntlet watching or in Civil War, or it could be the watch that they time traveled with. I'm like, that could be a possibility. But even in the story, we don't know who the watch belongs to, except the fact that Clint says it would reveal the identity to somebody that's been out of the game for a very long time. Like, it would put someone in danger. I would lose a friend. And I'm thinking, who's been out of the game for a very long time that has like a vintage Rolex watch? We don't know. Me and my sister had theories. Could it be Matt Murdock? I was like, that doesn't make sense. But I was like, does that really make sense? But it could make sense that technically Matt's been out of the game, and this could be canon. I just thought of this right now. Matt's been out of the game as Daredevil. Who's to say Hawkeye, in the time he's been whatever, didn't run into somebody that he knew was Daredevil, or maybe if they canonize it, maybe he knew Matt Murdock was Daredevil, because they're trying to show that Hawkeye's a grounded character. So who's to say Matt's not Daredevil anymore, and he's been retired? But maybe Wilson Fisk getting up and coming would make Matt go back into being Daredevil again. Maybe that is his vintage Rolex watch. That's just a theory. I could be wrong. But that's a good theory now I'm thinking about it, because it's ground level, so.
Oh, but wait, though. The watch wasn't... Matt Murdock had stuff that was for him. There was Braille on, his papers. His alarm clock was a talking alarm clock.
But we've seen him wear watches before. And that's why I'm thinking... That's a good, it's a long shot theory, but it is very pinpoint of we're getting to. We all know Fisk is the main point, is what we're gathering, the big guy. That's, I feel like, the end game of we're going to see a reveal of him finally. We're going to get the name Kingpin, And I feel like we're getting to the point where, again, Kevin Feige just came out saying, we don't know, confirmed that, Charlie Cox will be Daredevil when we see him again. He said, we don't know when we'll see him playing Daredevil, but, you know what I mean? He said, we don't see him when he'll be playing Daredevil again. But he said that, Charlie Cox will be playing Daredevil. But he never said when we'll be seeing Matt Murdock again. And that's what makes me think, Matt, it could reveal something about him that I could be losing a friend that's been retired. He's been retired as Daredevil. That would be a great canonization that he's been retired. Again, it's a long shot. I mean, but it could be possible, and that makes me happy.
The way the script was in today's Hawkeye,
yeah.
Clint Barton said they, not he or
exactly. They said they. So again, it could be anybody. It could be a guy or girl. That's true. But is it that crazy to think it could be a possibility? I know we're supposed to see Matt Murdock in No Way Home. That's the theories. It's not confirmed, but from what I saw, and again, I'm not going to say what it is. It was a while ago with the pictures that got leaked out, and I still think they're real. I don't know if they were actually fake edited photos, but from what I understand, I think that is not a too far-fetched theory that it could be leading to Matt Murdock, but it's subtle. So who knows? But again, he said they. Could be a guy or a girl, but that's just my theory. I want to know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But we end up getting to where the watch is. And at this point, we see Kate in her outfit, and I'm like, oh my god. I connected it. I'm like, oh my god, this is the same moment that we saw in the TV spot leading into this episode. I'm like, I already know what's coming. And I was flipping out. My sister didn't see the TV spot. So at this point, I'm just like, contain yourself. I already know what's going to happen. I'm like, oh my god. And it was just great because we see that Clint wants to go in and wants Kate to be the scouter, saying we're at the perfect place. We have a good exit strategy. You always have to think about that first. That when we go in, it's fine, but it's always the exiting out that shit could go sideways. Like we have to make sure we have a good exit strategy. I want you to be here, and I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna shoot a thing over there, and I'm gonna zip line myself up, or he said I'm gonna grapple myself up, and you're gonna be here and be my lookout. Turns out Kate just dips, walks across the street, and it's the funniest thing because she's causing so much attention. Everybody's beeping at her, and she's just saying, sorry, walks across. He's like, yo, Kate, get back here, whatever, you're supposed to be, whatever. And he's like, I'm so sick of you, since you're an adult, you keep thinking you can just do whatever you want or whatever. And it was so funny because he's like, yo, get back here, at least grapple up. And she's like, he's like, hey, don't do that. Hey, Kate, don't do this. And she's asking to help an old man with his groceries to take the elevator up. She took the easiest way out. She took the non-fun way out. Like it's like, once you want to grapple over, do all this cool spy stuff, like she took all the fun out of it. I was like, dang. I was like, she said, I'm going to do the easy way. I'm just going to go over, take the elevator up, break into this person's apartment and get this thing that we're supposed to be getting. And that's at the moment, of course, when, he says, when she's looking for the watch, Clint says, it would ruin, a close friend's identity that's been out of the game for a very long time. We don't know who. And then that's where Kate finds a listing of Clint's, wife and daughter and two boys' names on the page. And that's when I was like, oh my god. I'm like, whose apartment are we in? And then my sister Bethany said we're in Yelena's apartment. I said to myself, because we saw the alarms, the silent alarms go off, and I keep thinking, I was like, oh my god. I was like, I see punching bags. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because the punching bag's in the background. So I was going with her on the theory it could be Yelena's apartment. But then we hear rumbling outside, and then of course Kate acknowledges the strobe lights, but then we hear rumbling outside of, Clint getting beat up or something. And at this point, Kate's like, yo, Clint, and we just hear beating up going on. And then that's at the point where here comes Echo, and she starts kicking the crap out of Kate. And then Kate's like, oh my god, this is Echo's apartment. Oh my god. And she's like, yeah, and she's like, oh, want to help me? And then, that's when Clint says, I'm busy. And then we see the night vision goggles, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Yelena. I'm like, that's Yelena. I was like, oh my god, how did we not realize from the silent strobe lights, the vibrations, and the punching bag, because that recalls to the episode, I think it was episode, I want to say 3, where we finally see Echo, and she's fighting in the MMA gym, the boxing gym. I'm like, that makes so much sense. That was such a good thing where Kate would be busy with Echo, and that's, because remember, we all know that Kazi's the one that said, to Echo's the one that said to Cosio, I need you to do some background check on Clint Barton. Hence the noting. I was like, that makes so much sense. So that fight sequence where, Clint's busy on the roof with Yelena, and I'm flipping out at this point, and there's a fight going on with Echo in her apartment building, and I love how, like, after Clint gets his bow and arrow, and he shoots over, it, like, gives, Kate, like, a zip line to come over and help him fight, and just let's all get on one singular ground so we can all, like, team up and we can fight them. That was such a cool sequence because we see them, oh my god, just seeing Kate fight, we see her fight, of course, some with Echo, and we see her fight some with, fight against Yelena. That one moment where, like, Kate uses her bow and arrow to, like, bounce, she uses, like, her bow to bounce off the ground, get to the gun that, that Yelena had, like, does the cap, like, hit, like, like, stomping on it, and it makes it go down this, like, this shaft, and then they start fighting, her and Yelena, and that was a cool fight sequence, seeing Yelena, like, with her new moves, just, like, fighting everybody, fighting Clint, fighting Kate, fighting Echo, they're all just fighting one another, and it's the funniest thing, but it's, like, the coolest thing ever. This, by far, out of all of the shows I've watched on Disney Plus, this one fighting sequence blew every fighting sequence I've seen out of all the other shows. I mean, they're all different shows, but the closest I could say is, like, grounded fighting is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think I enjoyed myself in this one moment, and I didn't fighting in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I was jumping up and down, seeing Yelena with her cool entrance, doing all the flips and stuff, and fighting, and seeing Kate fight her. I was like, oh my god, I was like, this is so cool, because we know we're gonna get to the point where that Yelena is gonna be the new Black Widow, and of course Kate's gonna be the new Hawkeye. So they're going to be the new dynamic duo, like the new best friend trio, and I'm super here for it. I'm super excited. They're going to be so badass, her and Yelena, when they join the Young Avengers. I'm going to cry because they're fighting alone. Them, like, fighting one another was insane. It's like, I was flipping out. And of course, we got to the moment where she was trying to go for the gun, and Echo's trying to go for it, Yelena's trying to go for it, and at this point we see Kate take out one of the arrows from the quiver, and it's one of the trick arrows that has, like, this echo thing, and, like, makes everybody burst back. It affects, of course, Yelena's, her, like, I guess, night vision goggles. It affects, Echo, of course. It affects Clint's, hearing aid, and of course, that at this point, I'm thinking this is when Yelena's gonna take off her mask. Oh my god, this is when it's gonna go down. But we see the big fighting sequence where, like, I guess Echo gets, like, she gets shot with arrows, and then I guess she just runs off because she knows she's beat at this point. And then we see the moment where, of course, Yelena is fighting Clint, ends up taking the mask off of Yelena, but of course Yelena hits her with the Black Widow bite or whatever. And I was flipping out when that happened. And at that moment, Clint realized, oh my god, that's a Black Widow. This just got real serious, because we at the moment when he takes off the mask and he gets hit with the Black Widow bite, and then that's when Kate, like, gets an arrow out of the quiver and points it at Yelena, saying, you better leave. And at this point, Yelena's looking at her saying, don't you dare come at me, like, I'm gone, don't you dare, I'll kill you. And the facial expression that Florence Pugh had in that moment, Yelena, I was like, oh my god, she means business. She is here to kill. She will be back. And I'm so excited because I think she's going to be back in episode 6. I think at the latest she'll be back. And then we'll probably get an understanding, and then that's when the Young Avengers team will build up. I can't process what I saw, guys. And at this moment, we see her leave, and then we see, of course, that's when Clint says, this just got real. We're done. You need to leave. Like, this got real. I have a Black Widow on my tail. I have all this going on with Echo. You need to leave. I'll figure out all this on my own. I have to stick to what, the promise I made to your mother. I'll leave you out of it. Just, you need to leave. We were never partners. You gotta go. And that was really sad to see, because I was like, damn, you didn't really gotta take it that far, saying you weren't partners. I mean, come on. I understand you're angry right now, because he was close to losing Kate, because Yelena throws her off the ledge. And luckily enough, that was when Kate could grab that grapple that eventually did fall off when she came over, and strapped it to her belt. But she was hanging there, and lights are, like, right below her. And Clint got, like, a flash of the same moment where Natasha's hanging over the ledge. Like, he got a flash of an anxiety that I was like, oh my god, you could have died. And that would have happened to me again. Like, I'm always the person, I feel responsible that when people are around me, people die. And it's like, we saw that with him, that scare, he was scared. But he said, get out of here, leave, like whatever you mean, like he said, but of course she goes back up, and that's when he says, when Yelena leaves, he says, we're done, leave, bye. She leaves, and of course he feels sad that he didn't want to do that, but he knows that's right, he had to make her leave because he didn't want her to get hurt. She was close to dying. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want that on his conscience. He has already so much on his conscience, so that was really hard to see. And we see the parallels. We saw the music playing from Volmir of the moment when Natasha's hanging over the ledge and she's like, it's okay. We hear that music when she's, Kate's hanging there. We hear that music when he's explaining it to her that when he lost Natasha. We hear that music playing. We hear it when he's talking to Kate when they're having their Christmas party. It's sad. Like, it's sad. We really hear, like, it's really taking a toll on him that he wishes it could have went another way. He probably still wishes that he would have been the one to do it. Because it's like he hasn't come back. You know what I mean? He's been saved, but he hasn't come back from being running. He feels like it's still kind of a part of him. And it feels like he hasn't been saved. And he feels like, at this point, he wished he would have done it, made the ultimate sacrifice. But I mean, I feel like by the end of this, he'll realize she didn't risk her life for no reason. She didn't die for no reason. I need to realize I'm a hero, like Natasha believed I was a hero, that I could be saved. And I feel like Kate's showing that to him too, and I can't wait to see how that's all going to resolve at the end of all this. What's going to happen with, when him and Yelena, get on good terms, and actually she finally realizes that he didn't kill Natasha, and we see Clint finally realize he is the hero everybody's been telling him he is, and he does believe in himself. And I'm just excited to see all that go down. And I love the one moment, also I forgot about it, when they're doing their Christmas party, the little thing that she's doing for him, and he saying he could knock someone out with either a quarter or something a little bit heavier. And she's like, no way. I'm going to tell people that you're lying to me, because there's no way you could flick a quarter and knock somebody out. And he's like, what do you want me to do it on you? And she's like, no, but I don't believe you're telling me the truth. I think you're lying. I'm going to tell people that you're lying. And he ends up flicking out a quarter over to the TV, ends up turning off the TV and teaches her how to do that. And I'm sorry, that shot where, like, she finally gets it right and flicks her wrist and hits the quarter and makes it, like, do that curve and hits the TV. That was so cool. That's what makes me excited to see stuff with Daredevil, because he does a lot of cool things with, like, his batons and stuff. I'm so here for it. MCU is going to make Daredevil so cool. We don't even know, guys. We thought Netflix Daredevil was good. Oh, wait until they do a show or a movie where Charlie Cox is Daredevil and it's over. It's going to be insane. It's going to be like, holy crap. We thought that was good. Look at this. I'm just excited, guys. But guys, that was my episode 4 review. I want to know down in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode. I want to know down in the comments below what you guys thought about Yelena finally showing up in this episode. Also, I want to know, who do you think Clint was referring to of a person that's been out of the game, and that their identity will be revealed and they'll lose a friend? Who do you think it is? I think it could be Matt Murdock. Again, that's a very long shot. Again, he didn't say a guy or a girl, but it's going to be very interesting when we find out who it is. And I'm super excited. I would say out of all shows, this is as close to Loki of, what's happening? Who's behind everything? I like that. I like the mystery and who's behind things. So how I would do my ranking is I would do, I would do Hawkeye, I would do Loki, I would do Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I would do WandaVision. That's how I would do my rankings of so far of what we've been getting with the Disney Plus series. But guys, I want to hear what your rankings are down in the comments below, and I want to hear what you guys thought about this initial episode that we got of Hawkeye episode 4. But guys, that was the video. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put in those notifications, like this video. I would love to have you guys here, part of this family. But guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.